Welcome to Frame of Reference, informed, intelligent conversations about the issues and challenges facing everyone in today's world. In-depth interviews to help you expand and inform your frame of reference. Now here's your host, Raul Labreche.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Frame of Reference, and I've started the recording just in the midst of my guest talking about things that she's obviously passionate about, and I think that's what I'm going to appreciate the most about our conversation today. Samina, did I say that? Yes, Samina, right? Samina Gentry. Samina Gentry.
Gentry, yes. I thought I got the name from a book, from an author from the book, so it's not quite. I looked up online where the music, and I found a country, not a country, a state or a city, I don't remember, in Africa named Simina. Oh. And I felt very honored.
Yeah. Messina. Well, there's a very, very a famous singer too. Loggins and Messina back in the 60s was a quite popular folk artist too. So there's some carriage there, I guess, as well. Samina, you are the founder and the CEO, I'm assuming, of
yes.
the Atlantic Children's Clothing
Correct.
Company. Well, actually, just European, all sorts of wonderful European items. But I appreciate so much you taking the time to be with us today on Frame of Reference. I'm just in talking with you ahead of time. Samina is a dynamo, folks. You know, if you're watching this, hopefully you get to see the video. But she is a passionate woman, passionate about many things that are wonderful, and I'm sure this will be a sparkling conversation. I'm going to try to just sit back and listen most of the time. Okay, that would probably be wise.
Very much. I am pretty much who I am. So, if I say something, please don't get offended. No one should get offended because I don't mean it in a individual in a way towards anyone. I respect everyone and anyone.
Boy,
so
wouldn't that be nice if everyone behaved that way these days? So, well, Samina, you had a chance to look at the spec sheet for the show, and I did
yes.
warn you about starting out with a My Favorite Things segment. So this can go wherever it goes. It's kind of a Rorschachtian kind of exercise where whatever comes to your mind, just let it go. Don't try to think too much about things, but let them happen. So let's start out with something fairly easy.
Yeah.
Okay. How about your favorite baked good? Your favorite bakery? Thing that you like.
My favorite bakery. Well, my favorite bakery is is the croissant. I'm sorry. I know maybe you're expecting something extraordinary, but I do love the croissant, and I love the croissant that is like a very buttery, which is the bad one, right?
Yeah.
The buttery croissant that and French good is good because it's butter, and there's no mystery why the French good is so good. So And so I would say a croissant. I love tea. I don't drink coffee.
Okay.
So a croissant with a cup of tea, especially with a little cheese on top. And, I am vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian for 25 years. I'm moving towards vegan right now. So cheese is kind of becoming a little foreign concept. But here and there, a little, I want to say treat because, treat is something that's healthy for you,
Yeah.
Croissant is not the treat.
I'm French. You don't have to convince me about cheese being good for you.
I am maybe Christmas time getting some, but I would say that's my favorite baked good. But I do have a favorite soup because yours she says favorite food. Okay. So my favorite soup is the vegan chicken soup.
Oh.
So actually the way I make it doesn't have any really solid items in the soup except the pasta, which must be angel hair pasta and from Italy. So you can find that at the Whole Foods or other whole store, angel hair pasta. And there is a vegan, no chicken broth that you can use for that. So I put the chicken broth in the pot and I chop some parsley, Italian parsley. Okay. And I let it boil for a few minutes to get the parsley flavor into the broth, the fresh parsley. Mm. And then when it starts boiling, I put the angel hair pasta, which is very tiny pasta, and really only 2 or 3 minutes. That's all it needs. Mm. And it is really, 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 really good, especially when you don't feel good, when you have a cold, when you feel like, I don't know, a little comfort a little comfort food, I would say. So that's, so that's, I would say that that's kind of my favorite food.
Nothing like those hot, simple things that just, soothe the insides, right? So what about a favorite book? Do you have a favorite book?
I have a favorite book. I mean, I have obviously many favorite books. The Man from Mount Vernon. So The Man from Mount Vernon, that's one of them. It's really about George Washington. It really got stuck with me, and I read that book, and I have it. It's so old. The cover is old, but I bought it about 20 years ago, and I don't know how many times I read it. So that really goes into details of George Washington's becoming the first president and his personality, some of the personal, but really what struck me is the resilience that he showed, the determination, the balanced approach, the courage, and really as an American, and as my admiration for our country, reading those books, it just really heightened your view and how proud you are. Now, it's not a perfect country. No country is perfect, but this is the best country. And it's really, in my opinion, again, I respect everyone's opinion, so I want to make clear from the beginning. It really struck me because also it's so important about the book, not only what it contains, but who wrote that content. And it is so important because there's another book I read about Thomas Jefferson. And I don't remember the author right now, but I read it's pretty much his, a biography. But it was one book written, maybe Macallan, another book written by another author. And, it's something that it has to do, and again, it doesn't necessarily mean that one author is good, one is bad. It has to do with your compatibility with, right? Your taste. And it's very, in that very literal sense, right? Some may enjoy watermelon, some may not enjoy watermelon. Now, I don't want to downgrade the level of creativity that is in a book, but it really is important to underline the fact that no author is bad, no book is bad. It just matters who you are. And we are unique. Each one of us are unique. And we need to respect that. And we want to be, want to be able to recognize that, some people like certain things, certain books, some people may not like, but that's something I have observed, particularly as it relates to Thomas Jefferson, which is quite, certain. Now, doesn't mean I'm a history buff. It doesn't mean that I'm really all about history. It just happened that some books, now I do love Goethe, for example, right? Wolfgang Goethe is a German philosopher, and I love all of his books, and they speak to me. I love the fact that, like, when Goethe writes something, he is going into the plot. He's presenting the details of the plot, right? He's highlighting the emotions. But if you read his books, throughout the book, he takes breaks, and he takes breaks where he poses questions, rhetorical questions in a way that makes you pause and makes you think. And those questions may or may not relate to the actual plot, but they relate to things that are human, are related to humans. Okay. And they may just stop and think. And I just love his books because it's not the continuous, passionate plot. It's not also a biography that goes into what happened this year, what happened next year, what happened. It's really a plot, but it is really infused with a philosophy that's not boring, right? Now, right? Oppenheimer. I mean, there's so many other old philosophers, right? Aristotle, Socrates, and they're wonderful, and I obviously read some of them. But it's just the way the Goethe writes his books, and he was a philosopher. It's, I would say, in a way that is making the philosophy more accessible, but not just accessible as an understanding, more accessible as far as practicing it. Sure. Because he's positioned facts in the questions in a way that makes you think how to approach life, how to approach something in your life that now it will be different after you read maybe that particular page where it contains that particular passage, right?
Sure.
So,
well, you bring in
just got it, because one of the questions was,
you bring an interesting point though too, that the art is how we approach it, right? It's a speaking, it's a conversation almost between the artist and you. So I've often thought of that, how paintings will affect me one way when I was younger, say I saw a Jackson Pollock, and then 20 years later saw Jackson Pollock and went, oh, now I get it. Now I get it.
Absolutely, because the painting, it reflects your thoughts, your emotions. It reflects what you think, and that is unique, because you cannot have people that think exactly the same, and you can have a painting that literally only has a blue color. But you know what? That color, that's so simple painting, may make you feel in a certain way and may make the other person feel in a completely different way. And that's the beauty of art. Really, art cannot be judged. No one can judge art, because art comes from the heart. Everyone has a heart. And you're connected with that. You are connected with us, and you have to respect that. You cannot put a square in a round. It's just you can't do that.
You could try, but it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. And it's a beautiful. It's art is beautiful. Whether it's music, whether it's the painting, whether it's writing, it's just you just have to respect that. That is why you can't really judge anyone, right? You just have to realize that. And you know what? You may not like it, but you move on. Or you don't have to disrespect anyone. You're entitled to not like something. You have to move on. Right. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking.
That makes me think of a scene in Our Town by Thornton Wilder. And when George and Emily are first realizing that they're in love with each other, they didn't quite get it. And in the background, while that's going on, the church choir is rehearsing. And the song that they sing is "Blessed Be the Ties That Bind." And it's such a wonderful, combination of, I think art is one of the things that is a tie that binds. And if we can just, kind of sit back for a moment and think for a second, okay, I have a reaction to this thing, whether you like it or you don't. I'm having a reaction to this. And that's exactly probably what the artist was intending, was to get you to just respond. And, whether it's a good or a bad feeling, art doesn't seek to, do that sort of thing of put those values on it. Art just wants us to be alive. Art wants us to think and to respond in a way that makes us maybe think about something different than we ever thought about it before. You're talking about the philosophical debates. They're all about just getting you to think, what if, right? So.
Absolutely. Art in so many ways. And you didn't really touch upon a point that it is really a binding tool, and it is, particularly right now, is so much needed. But for the art to do its job and to bind and to create, it must be uncensored. It must be, and I think that there's a tendency sometimes for people to define art and to structure it a certain way that's acceptable, right? And I think that's not art. It's something else, but it's not art, because art must be free, right?
Yeah. When you start to censor things, you're saying this is, this isn't, right?
And the other thing is, you wanted to think of not to think, but more to be aware of the tendency of judging the artist from a different perspective than the art itself. And I think that people are jumping the horse and going to the direction without actually pausing to see the art. Because, like you said, if anyone would just step back for a second and just enjoy that music or choir or painting, there is an internal awakening, because it must be, because we are alive inside, and must be internal awakening. But there's sometimes a tendency to jump over that and go after judging the artist.
Yeah.
And I think that I think that's wrong because the artist must be free to express his emotions. That's what art is. And some people may love those emotions or thoughts. Some people may not. But you must, and I'm talking here from every angle and from every side,
Right.
That's what I think art is true. It must be true. And you have to stay true to yourself, and you must respect the truth, because then you are not really recognizing the authenticity of the art. You're not really appreciating the art, and you don't want art. You want something else, but you don't want art.
Yeah.
But some people maybe they do it subconsciously when they get into a place that is.
Well, some people
Anyway,
get very uncomfortable too, right? And a work of art can make them just uncomfortable. I don't like this. I don't like how this is making me feel. And it's like, well, number one, it's really not making you feel anything. You're responding to what's going on. So, to abdicate your personal responsibility for the feeling that you're having in response to it, that's sort of a problem in and of itself. But then take it another step and realize maybe that's exactly what the artist was seeking to do. That maybe the artist was upset themselves and was seeking a way to express that upset, and by doing so, I mean, look at Picasso's work. Picasso was kind of upset about the world around him, so some of his paintings are so disjointed and so like, what in the world is he thinking? I can't understand it. Well, that's because he was looking around the world going, what is going on? I don't understand it. Right. So,
absolutely. But we appreciate it because it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
We see the truth in that painting.
Yeah.
That's what we appreciate, the truth. You cannot be an artist if you're not true. Right. You just cannot.
Right.
Your work will have no value. You can't sell that to the corner, and you can't sell it anywhere. If you're not truthful to yourself and who you are, you cannot make art. And you cannot compose music. You cannot, Beethoven, all of his pieces are rich in emotions. Chopin is, beautiful and peaceful and very melodious and, very makes you, very thoughtful, walking on the beach and so on. Beethoven has everything in one piece. He has a relaxation, he has anger, he has happiness, he has joy, and all of a sudden he goes to the anger again. These were his emotions. Mm-hmm. This is what he felt. And if you don't recognize that, you're not going to ever be able to perform a Beethoven piece that will be appreciated. Because people are looking for, someone said, people who don't remember what you say, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And that comes from the heart. That comes from the truth. Truth is at the basis of anything and everything. And you can't sidestep that in the name of anything. You just cannot.
People try all the time, but it's...
you can do it, but you're not going to get it.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. Do you have... how about a favorite music or song? Do you have anything of that? One song that you go to that's your go-to song, or a composer?
Oh, my favorite song... my favorite music is Beethoven and Chopin.
Okay. That's why you brought them up. Oh, okay.
Those are my favorites. I like the sonatas. I don't, I have one particular in mind. I love Strauss. Danube Waltz. I would say Danube Waltz is beautiful.
Okay.
Radetzky March. That's Johann Strauss, Radetzky March.
Okay.
And I would say Beethoven Heroica. He composed it in Vienna. It was commissioned by a count. Back then the composers were obviously commissioned by, counts and royalties to compose pieces, and Heroica was one of them.
So it sounds like you're largely romantic. Would that be inaccurate? So it sounds like a lot of romantic composers.
Exactly. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. Yes, a lot romantic. That is correct. Yes.
Okay. So how about, I always try to wrap up with a question like this, but when you need to go to, or when you see something, let me frame this differently. Is there something that when you think about it, when you see it, when you experience it, that it reminds you of a time or a place or a thing that happened in your past that is just a really peaceful, wonderful, joyful, or, just a place that you enjoy going to? Or do you have a memory from childhood that it's just when
I do have a memory from childhood. I'm not sure if I go to it. I was really small. That relates to my love for Christmas, which I do is my favorite holiday of the year. And, and I see Santa. I remember when I was a little kid, and actually it was my neighbor that dressed up as Santa. And I was a little girl, and I believed in Santa. I just remember how it's a beautiful costume. He came with a sack on his back, very authentic. He had a lot of things in his sack, and he came and visited for a little while, just talking. And then he made me recite the poem, which my parents asked me to memorize.
Oh dear.
He didn't make me, but they did. I asked, well, do you have anything for me? What do you learn at school? So my parents prepared me for that. So I was very, very nervous about, reciting the poem to Santa, right? I mean, Santa Claus wanted me to recite the poem. He's like most important person, more important than my teachers, right? So here I am reciting the poem to Santa. So I did it. I think I did a good job because Santa loved it. He gave me his gift. And I remember that he walked outside and it was raining. And I was so upset that Santa's going to be in the rain now. Then I remember that was a real concern that I had. And I was keep hugging him. And my parents keep telling me that he will be okay.
Oh, wow. Boy, my mother was so much of a Christmas, I say it now, she was a Christmas nut, because she couldn't wait for Christmas time to come so that she could start decorating virtually every room in the house, and she wasn't big on outdoor decorations really, but the inside of the house was, when you came into the house, you knew it was Christmas. We had a banister for the stairway that went upstairs that was all wrapped in garland and lights and, reindeer going up the wall alongside it. And,
that's wonderful.
And then we had plate rails through the house. It was an older home, so there were plate rails all around the dining room, and she would set up little villages all around there with lights in them and trees and all kinds of wonderful things. And then a big drum table that I remember she always set that up to be like a pond. There was tinfoil set down, and then she had ice skaters that were on it, and then another little village around it. Yeah. So I just remember growing up with that, sort of wonderful, whimsical, time of the year. And she put so much of herself. I think, a lot of it was just when she was younger, she was quite poor. And, it was an opportunity as she got older and they had a little bit more money. I swear most of their discretionary income for years must have gone into Christmas decorations, so it was, the tree just got more ostentatious with every year that passed, and it was wonderful. I miss that. I wish she was still around to Christmasify things, I guess, if that's a word. But so Simina Gentry, our guest today, Samina, tell me a little bit about yourself. You don't talk like folks around here, Samina, I just want to say. So
I'm an background and I speak French. So my daughter's fluent in French. And I speak sometimes French with her. But it's yes, I came to Europe, to the United States a long time ago. I went to school here. But I always have an accent, especially, my daughter speaks French, but in addition to that, I go to summer friends I have here. Mm-hmm. I have a French restaurant next door, and, so it's, it's a European, area.
Well, you went to USC, right? USC and Harvard. That was your school.
Yeah, I went to USC. Okay. I went to USC, and then I went to Harvard. I really, I'm all about education. That's something that was within me, I guess. My parents, my father was a professor. My mother's the teacher. My aunt, my uncles, everyone, is teaching or taught. So education, is like who I am and what I know. So I keep going to school, and I think I'm good for now. Maybe going for a PhD at some point. I don't know right now. I think I'm okay. But I definitely. I went to business school as well, which recounts my sense of business. So yes, I love teaching, which I also taught at graduate school. But I love the business. I love helping people.
Okay.
And I love people. I love to see how people, how can I transform their lives in a positive way? How can I help them? And in this case, with my store, which I just have this new business with, having this authentic European store, which for me signifies more than just a store, because I'm really trying to bring Europe to America. I want to make the European product accessible to every American. It doesn't have to be someone that can afford to go to Europe. Anyone should be able to afford European products. If you look at our site, and I don't want to self-promote myself, but you can go and shop from Italy, from Netherlands, from Germany, from Austria. And we're a one-stop shop. We're pretty much taking care of everything. We ship the products, we accept returns, we respond to the customer service. We're very, very proactive in that sense. Customers are very important to us. And as I was mentioning at the beginning, we are literally a triangle where we have the European manufacturer, Atlantic, and the U.S. consumer. We don't go through chains of wholesalers and importers and so on, because we want to be able to answer the customer's question and concerns. We cannot answer the customer question and concerns if there's a chain. We don't get contact with the customer. The European vendor must be able to have to have an understanding and an insight into what the U.S. consumer likes. And they cannot have that if they are going through chains of importers and wholesalers. So I'm really trying to have a triangle relationship where the European vendor can actually plan production accordingly based on what the U.S. consumer likes. The U.S. consumer can buy products from Europe without having to travel to Europe, and Atlantic is facilitating this particular relationship, which makes Atlantic obviously happy and successful as well. So so that's so my background being European, my schooling is teaching, but I do have a business degree, so that's kind of where I am. Mm-hmm. Where I end up being on the business side.
So how did you go from being basically an economics student, correct? I mean, you talk about being an economist. So how did you go from that to clothing? And, I understand you have a European background. So of course there's some, the embellishment of that or the steeping of that in your, growing up. Right. But then did you have a sort of an aha moment where you thought, yeah, you know what, I need to put this and that together. And I think that could be wonderful.
Yeah. So, it really started with my desire to have access to European products. And that started with my daughter, because I've been trying to find products from her from Europe. And I always had a difficult time. And not just clothing. And I'm talking about maybe CDs in French or books in French, like native, like French, not translated or bilingual, but like actual French content. Or other languages. And I had a challenging time. So it kind of was a seed there, kind of like growing slowly. So in 2019, I went to Austria and we stayed in Salzburg, and then we went to Vienna. We bought some things here to the United States for us to use. And then it just became, I would say, so obvious when I could see the difference between what I have in my house, which is, everything bought in the United States, and then little things I got from Europe that stand out because they are different. Mm-hmm. As simple as that. They are different. They are manufactured by minds in a country that's thousands of years old. A lot of culture comes into that, right? They are different. The quality is different. The colors are different. They are different. And it's a different that is very obvious. And it's a different that I love. I have this little teacup with strawberry. So beautiful. You can wash that 1,000 times. They will never fade. And because also what I found out subsequently through my research is that the European Union mandates that certain chemicals are prohibited. So European businesses are not allowed to use many of the chemicals that you can find in the United States. So in fact, various articles I came across, thousands of chemicals that are in clothing and apparel for children, purses, toys, for women. They are present in the United States. They are available on the market, but they're not allowed in Europe. European manufacturers are not allowed to have those particular chemicals in their products, according to the European Union regulations. So it's a different, I would say, process of manufacturing in Europe, not insofar as just the style and design, but also the content of the ingredients that are present in each product. So subsequently, going through my research, I think it just naturally blossomed into the idea was, why is that I needed to go to Austria to bring these little things here, and now I can't have them unless I go back to Austria. And so many people are in that position, unless you want to travel a lot. And even if you have the funds to be able to travel a lot, maybe you don't have the time. And also traveling probably is not the healthier activity to do it very often. So, and then the idea has materialized into, I want to find a way to bring Europe to America, and not just clothing. Now, of course, now we're carrying children clothing, and there are some economical reasons as to why children clothing. There's a strategy behind it, but we wanted to expand into not just children, but men, women, home. In fact, we have some home and accessories right now, but eventually we want food. We want food, and we want literally products from Europe, from all the countries in Europe, 44 countries, to be able to be on the market in the US. And that is why I have chosen the name Atlantic. That is, I wanted to really make this relationship really close. That is pretty much ignoring the beautiful big Atlantic Ocean by virtue of getting the products here.
Well, I'm ready for the men's clothing whenever you've got it available. I have to say, I'm looking at your headshots, because Command Your Brand is wonderful about sending very nice headshots of the artists that we talk with, the guests that I talk with. And both of your pictures, I have to say, are, and I mean this completely sincerely, but they are stunning. Okay, they are stunning because the richness of the color, the richness of the patterns, the just the aesthetic of it. And I know I'm different. I have an arts background. When you have an MFA in stage design, you learn to love costuming in a global way, right? But they just right away to me when I saw the outfits that you chose, they were bright, they were vibrant, they were interesting, and I find that's something that, here I am with my black turtleneck and my gray, Polartec item on. It's as if in America we are terrified of bringing attention to ourselves in a way that European clothing does without even thinking about it. And in our world, we would think of it, I think, as gaudy and ostentatious. It's not something that people willfully go after usually, because I think it's like, well, who are you trying to impress? Or, what are you trying to accomplish with that? I mean, come on, you're trying to stand out in a crowd, huh? I'm like, no, I'm trying to express who I am. And this clothing that I'm wearing, this style, this pattern, this colorful array of things is who I am. Who I want to be, and my better angels, right, that are on my shoulders. So
yes. But you're right. I mean, that's how, again, the beautiful clothes in the United States, the beautiful product, but they are not European. And that doesn't mean that one is bad and one is good. It's just different. And everyone recognizes that difference. And it's just the way it is. And you buy something from France, dress, you see this different. You see that. And you can ask. In fact, I met the other day someone that actually bought it from Europe. And I just asked by just curiosity where she got it, because it was different. I knew and she said, yeah, I bought it from France. I went the last time. So it's, and it wasn't something like extraordinary, like a Prada or some sort of a extraordinary expensive item. It's just the style and I think you appreciate that, the design, the style, the colors, the combination of colors. It's just unique. And I want the U.S. consumer to have access to the European market. And, it's beneficial for pretty much, it's like win-win for everyone in this picture. That is kind of the answer to your question as to how I ended up from being I taught at graduate school, right? I'm a teacher in my blood. I'm a teacher. I love teach. I still tutor. I still help. But, at the minimal level. But at the same time, I'm an economist. I have a business degree, and I love people. I love business. I love, making deals. I love, and I love when my customers are happy. What makes me happiest is my customers. If I can make them happy and there's a problem, that is 10,000 times worse for me than it's for my customer, because that it's really impacting me, I would say, at the personal level. And which is why we have this business model where we're not accepting drop shipping, we're not accepting third-party supplier to do the packaging, we're not accepting third-party external companies or help or tools that can provide us with a pathway to deliver the product to our customers. I'm not accepting that, because if I lose control of the process, I cannot make my customer happy. I am going to lose that tool, and I don't want to lose that tool, because the customer is number one. And I want to make sure that we deliver, and if there's something wrong, I can attend to it right away. I know exactly what happened. I know how to fix it, because I control that process. So, and also, of course, it's just happened that, and I'm trying to be sarcastic here, but when you control the process, you don't have so many hands in the kitchen. The product is not that expensive as well, because you don't have all of these markups. Right. So therefore, the consumer also is benefiting from this relationship, because the cost, the price of the product is not going to be, higher because of markups from other parties.
Sure.
So that's kind of where I ended up being. And I just
you said something that in some of the information that I read that I thought was really fascinating. Said that you appreciate how European styles offer children age-appropriate choices and allows them to savor the sweetness of their childhood without the rush to grow up too soon. So I went on your website and saw some of that in the dresses that the little girls were able to wear. And I thought, boy, that's so much my daughter when she was younger, to be able to have those kinds of clothes on and to be Cinderella, for a moment. And,
I know. I really, that's a challenge actually for many moms these days, because, you go to Nordstrom, or I don't want to say a name, any store, and Nordstrom is a good store, so please go to Nordstrom. Right. If you go to anywhere, Again, I'm not judging here. It's just my taste is such that I like European products that I feel they're beautiful for kids and they're sweet, in my opinion. Now, sweet may mean something for you, something for somebody else, but that's what it means for me. And I love the bonnets, for example. I just love the bonnets. That's just me. And I love the bonnets. I love the pretty clothes. I did find some instances. I came across some instances where, you're trying to buy something, a gift or, for a little girl, and you go to the stores, not naming mine, but you go to the stores and you see these dresses with one shoulder off or an empty back for a 5-year-old. I think that's just not appropriate, period. These clothes are for adult women that they can show off their back if they want to show off their body, but not for a 5-year-old. And that's something it doesn't, I have no words to explain that. I mean, I could, but I don't want to go into. And I feel like, and there's so many moms that I've heard with, expressing the same, they want beautiful. Why not a little girl can wear beautiful dresses, pretty, and we have so many beautiful dresses on our site, on our store, lace, velvet, very, cute and girly and childish.
Right.
And kids love them. They're going to grow up before you know it. Don't, expedite that process. Yeah. Don't expedite that time because, children and childhood is such a sweet period. It's, life is life. Things will come, right? Things will come, things will go.
Right.
But let them and let you as a parent savor that period of time, enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Every child is a blessing and be thankful for that. Yeah. And, I recognize it. And so that's kind of what I feel, which is why I would say the clothing that we carry, tends to be, classic. Tends to be traditional and tends to be, it's certain things that, I have. Now, many people may not like it, and I respect that. But, I love that particular style. And you can't find that style in the United States. I can tell you that. Yeah. You cannot find it.
Yeah.
And that's from Europe. And I'm not talking about Europe from 30, 40 years ago. These clothes that I carry, it's not like they sat in someone's warehouse for 40 years and all of a sudden Simina Gentry from Atlantic comes and buys them all. No, this clothing is made in Europe as we speak. So that is where you can go and find this beautiful clothing, this beautiful style, but you cannot find that in the United States.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean it's wrong or bad. It's just the way it is.
Right. Well, and having people to have that comparison and that contrast is really important.
Right.
And as you said, some people may like it and love it and think it's the best thing since, as we used to say, sliced bread. But it's different strokes for different folks, right? So we're going to run out of time. Oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about. But you believe that it's also really important to focus on organic and sustainable products, right? That's been one of the tenets of what you've been doing as a business person and as a creator, opportunist, yes. I guess. How does that work in your realm, in your business?
It is very important because we try to avoid all those chemicals that can make you sick, those in the clothes, right? So it's very important to recognize that happens. And I've read so many articles. I don't know if you know the story of Alaska Airlines, that a while ago manufactured some uniforms, and then all of a sudden they started getting blisters, rashes, swollen eyes, and so on. I mean, breathing problems, and some people actually died. and as a result of the chemicals that were found to be present in those clothing. There was a study. If I may, I would like to offer your audience a reading that is on our site. If they can go to atlanticchildren.com /blog/stories, they can read an article about the skin being the largest organ of your body. And in that particular article, there is a link from a CBS News document that has provided statistical measurements of high level of chemicals found in clothes manufactured by some fast fashion retailers. And there's a professor from the University of Toronto that actually provides data in that article, the extraordinary levels of lead and all the bad stuff that and the chemicals you cannot pronounce, like demitel fumarat, anyway, hexavalent toluene, and like chemicals you cannot pronounce that are extremely harmful to your body, were present in apparel for children, in purses. In fact, the professor that actually holds a little beautiful red purse for a little kid that is extremely dangerous because it contains all these chemicals. Because your skin is the largest organ. That is why it's dangerous. Everything that you put on your skin enters in your body. So therefore, organic is really important. Now, is it easy to get organic items? Is not. Is it easy in the United States? No, not so much. Is it easier from Europe? Yes. And why? Because the European Union has certain regulations that the producers, manufacturers in Europe must abide by. And there are over 1,000 chemicals and toxins that are allowed in the United States, but they are not allowed in the manufacturing process in Europe. So that is where we get our beautiful, our designer Annie and Charles is from Austria. And you can go to our site. You can see a beautiful cloudy outfit for a baby. And you can see the beautiful organic 100% cotton product. You know what's interesting that, I've obviously been living in the United States for a long time. But, when I started getting these items from Europe, I start smelling them. And you know what? I forgot how cotton smells. In fact, I don't even know how cotton actually smells. And because, you buy something from the United States and you smell it and it just smells chemicals and you have to wash it. And it kind of still it kind of smells so weird. You can smell our clothes. You smell cotton. You smell purity. It's unbelievable. I mean, I could just smell that all day long because it's just, I think it's even healthy. I don't know. I'm not taking my word, but it's just pure cotton. And anyway, so it is really, really, really important that, that you are aware of the fact that your skin really absorbs everything. So I invite your audience to go to read that article. And also, you've been such a wonderful host, and I appreciate the freedom of expression on your host.
It's still America, right? I checked. Freedom of speech is an important thing here, from what I understand. It's
our forefathers fought, and they were extremely smart for actually contemplating situations similar to what we are, sometimes encountering. And how, I not on left and right, but I always say to people, this country was formed in strong ground. It has a strong roots. It's a tree with strong roots. Those roots will never uproot. The tree sometimes will go too much to the left, sometimes too much to the right, but the tree will be there. And I strongly believe that. And if you read in our history and our forefathers, and you can see how solid, how our Constitution was created, how they were able to foresee the weakness of human nature and how humans can use and exploited the human weakness for their own personal benefit. And they were able to see through that. And that's so going back to thank you for allowing me to have the freedom of speech on your show. I would like to offer your audience also a 20% discount for any items they would like to purchase. And that would be they can enter podcast 20 at the checkout, podcast 20. Or they can enter the link atlanticjournal.com/discount/podcast 20. And that just a gesture of appreciation. But I really, really appreciate your time and allowing me to be on your show. I had a quote by Goethe that I wanted to share with you. I forgot to share it with you,
that's okay. I as you look for that, I'm going to tell people atlanticchildren.com. Please go there. It's just such a wonderfully whimsical thing to see these little girls in their, beautiful, beautiful dresses. Just, I think you have one picture with little girls just swimming and just twirling, and you can just see the joy on her face of knowing that she looks like a little princess, and it's just enjoying that so much. And then the candles and the boxes and, everything just has a European flair, obviously, to it. But it's also very unique and a special, and not an ostentatious way. I think sometimes with European things, we tend to think of haute couture, and it's a, hoity-toity kind of thing. And it's not that at all. It's very, just very approachable and very things that you would just like to have on a table. Or would you get that, kind of thing. So
we also have we have a kids Euro Kids Club on Thursday night, and the 4 to 5:30. We actually read and teach the kids Italian and French for free.
Ah, okay.
We have a little space with a beautiful little bookcase with a little chair, a little lamp, a little beautiful fluffy rug, and the kids can just listen to Italian, French, and play games. So please start for start.
Wonderful. So did you find your quote?
I have the quote. Okay, so it's by Goethe. Whatever you can do or dream, you can. Begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Whatever you can do or dream, you can. Begin it. That's really the word. Many people have so many dreams. They want to do so much, but they're reluctant to start. But there's something when you start, things start to come together that you're not aware of before you start. You will not be told. You will not know. You will not be forewarned. Yes, you can start and I'll help you. No, you just start and then things will come together. I love the quote.
Ah, yes.
That's I love Goethe.
It's what's the old analogy of a ship has a very small thing called a rudder that will move it all kinds of places, but you have to move forward in order for it to be able to move that ship. So just move forward. Go forward.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Samina, thank you so much for being my guest. Can we please get together again at some point and talk some more?
Oh, I would love that so much.
Okay.
I you show so much. You are wonderful in really allowing your guests to express themselves and offering that space that is conducive of free expression and just. I think you love people. Obviously, you must love people because I can see it very clearly. I'm being sarcastic, but really, it's a wonderful show that you're offering for the good of humanity, for people that are listening to this show, and it's very refreshing, I would say.
Well, we will after the Christmas season. We can compare notes about what sorts of wonderful things. All right. In 2024, and we will find out what is happening in the world of fashion for children and the like in 2024. Shall we?
Absolutely. I cannot wait. Okay. I cannot wait to be on the show again. We're going to be doing a lot of things between now and in fact, we've opened a new physical store. We have a grand opening next week. A lot of things happening. So please stay with us. Follow us on Instagram and everywhere. And you and I must get together again. Your show is fantastic.
Well, thank you.
It's such a beautiful thing that you can.
Well, and I can tell we have at least 14 shows worth of content to talk about. So we could do the entire Simina Gentry, edition, or it could be. Well, that'd be wonderful. So we could have fun.
That would be wonderful. Absolutely. And if you're ever, I don't know, towards California, just let me know. Anyone, by the way, anyone that listens to this, if you are listening to this and you just happen to be in California and around Orange County, come to the store. Oh, by the way, we have chocolate and fish champagne. So that's on the house. On the house.
I can see people now just running, scurrying to get to your store. So, where's the champagne? So
we're gonna be treated like in Europe. So come over. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, Samina, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Thank you so much.
We will talk again.
You too as well.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you, folks, for listening to us on Frame of Reference. My guest today has been Simina Gentry, and if you haven't figured it out by now, she's just a wonderful person, and thank you. So you all take care. I will hope you'll tune in again next week to hear what wonderful conversation I might be able to have with some wonderful person again. It's a good thing. Take care.